Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet the great Mark Crowson. He is a digital marketing genius. His incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So I wrote my book in 2002, and shortly after that, I met my next guest. He is a digital marketing genius. We've maintained our friendship for some 2 decades now. Mark Crowson is in the studio. He's with Protueri. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, it's absolutely critical to have a digital strategy. Some people think, all they have to do is put up a website and people will find them, and nothing could be further from the truth.
That's very true. Most people think that it's almost like build their dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Yes, and I want people to know your rich history. You actually worked for Google.
Correct. I worked for Google for 6.5 years. Was employee 102. Had a chance to kind of get in on the ground floor, if you will, and see how things really work versus what theory and reality. Most people have an idea of how Google is looking at things, but the reality is they look at things completely opposite than what they do. And so I have a chance to be able to use those skills to help people, get found and grow.
Absolutely, and he's absolutely genius on SEO, but your company has grown by leaps and bounds over the last couple decades. We're going to pull up your website, and as we scroll down the website, it goes on for miles, and I love it because you design websites, and so you got to eat your own cooking. You got to have a great website. Right. Why don't you talk about some of your service offerings?
The biggest thing is consulting. Really, is meeting a client, directly where they're at, and finding out where they want to go, not where they think they can go, but really where they want to go, and then finding a right plan and strategy to help them, get there. And then nextly, then it comes into the design services, helping them share and tell their story through video production, because people don't read anymore. People don't have time to in their busy life. They're on their mobile devices.
Yes.
And so it's about what can keep their attention, essentially, when they're, already on that web page, and video production actually seems to help with that.
Why don't you share one of your favorite client success stories?
I've got a local chiropractor here to Grapevine, Texas. This guy who was actually my chiropractor for 15 years. And finally, he just had his wits end with his client, with his firm that he was working with, and he just wasn't seeing the growth that he felt that he deserved for what he was spending. And he just one day just said, "Can you help?" And I said, "Absolutely. I've been waiting for you to help. I've seen some of your struggles." And so we started working together. Within 3 months, we turned his business around and put him back into the red where he needed to be profit-wise. Helped him introduce new products and services that he wasn't able to offer before to his patient base. And he's, week after week, he's like, "This is the best week I've ever had. This is the best week." And after a while, it's like, "Is this really the best week?" But hearing that really, makes you feel like God has you on the right path.
Well, and you and I were visiting before the show, and I know you're a man of faith. God is your CEO?
Absolutely. Colossians 3:23 says, "In all the work that you do, work as if you work for God and not for man." And so, my feeling has always been, if I've put priorities straight, God, family, and work, everything else will align.
Yes. And you're playing in a very crowded field, but I like your faith-based approach, doing unto others. We're going to just pull up some video of, the design world, the graphic world, and as we're talking about this, so many firms might be good at one element of digital marketing, but they can't do the others. Talk about the idea that you've put all these services under one roof, so you really can take them almost from a table napkin idea to a successful company.
Absolutely. And if you look at the Protueri logo, that's one of the things that it is. There's an airplane, and that came from the idea of actually sitting with a client, taking notes, and literally taking what they wanted and having it take flight and having it take off. And then part of the logo is that there's a heart element and really having them fall in love with what they do again.
Yes.
So sometimes companies, that's where they come to us, is that they're stagnant and they're not growing, and they have fallen out of love with their brand. And so to help them take that approach is really where we get excited about helping a company.
Talk a little bit about COVID, because I mean the world came to a screeching halt, and I think about the restaurant industry where, man, if you didn't have a good online system, you were out of business. Right. What happened to your business during COVID?
Well, during COVID, ironically, I was going through a divorce at the same time, and so I had already depowered myself in a way of preparing of like what's next, and so the team that I had already amassed, everybody was already working from home because I found myself without an office, without a home, so to speak, and so we were actually prepared for COVID when that happened, and so we were already outreaching to clients and working with them. So we took our look at it. Everything happens for a reason. If you kind of follow the story of Joseph, you know, what you think is meant for evil, God has planned for good. And so we were able to actually take that and say, okay, so how do we work from home? Now how do we teach other people how to do that and work with this and actually teach them how to communicate? And that's really what came down with COVID. It came down to how can they properly communicate with their own team, with their customers, with their prospects, and everything else. And so we were able to take that and just accelerate our growth, rapidly.
Sure.
We built a video network over the years called Look Locally, and looklocally.com is a way for businesses to put their video content on a search engine and know that it's going to get found. And so that expanded the opportunity really for them to be able to grow and to get found. Because then they knew their content was being seen, they knew they were getting views, they knew they were getting phone calls, and they could communicate, customers could communicate through the platform, ordering services, ordering delivery, and doing a lot of other things that just grew. So what went from when I was married, 50,000, 60,000 viewers went up to 150 to 200,000 to even this morning, I think we have 394,000 businesses that are advertising on the Look Locally platform.
Well, I can see why you're so successful, and your compass is tuned to the right source. And so in the last minute or so that we have left, why don't you look into the camera on the left and talk to the viewer who says, man, I think I found my digital marketing firm. What is the next step? What happens?
I think the goal would be to figure out, again, where a company wants to go, and then working backwards, really focusing on all the way to how you want to exit the business, if you're wanting to sell your business, if you're wanting to franchise your business, or if you're wanting to pass it off to a family member and leave a legacy behind. And then from there, figuring out what steps, got us there to that point. And then sitting down to have either a cup of coffee directly or a virtual cup of coffee, rather if I'm in your town speaking, or if one of our salespeople are in your area, reaching out and saying help, and not being afraid to be too big to ask for help, and then seeing what we can do to help. If we can, we will. If we can't, that's okay. We'll always try to point you in the right direction.
Outstanding. Mark, you've been a great guest. We're going to end with the website, which is protueri.com. The great Mark Crowson. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.